City's #1 recording studio. Oh! Listen, vision.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mo Davis. I'm a senior sales consultant at iGolden One Realty and Concierge, and welcome to Bliss. So this show will be designed to talk to you about all aspects of real estate, not necessarily just the sales part or the buying part, but just everything that goes into it, from the time that you have the idea that you may want to purchase up until your inspections afterwards, your housewarming party, just anything related to it. My special guest today cannot join me, but I wanted her to come next week, so she'll be here next week, and her name is Nicole Martinez. She is going to talk to us about the psychology behind wanting to purchase or wanting to sell. So that'll be very interesting to see how psychology plays into real estate. A lot of people don't think about psychology when it comes to real estate, but it does have a big part, because when you have your thoughts and ideas about why you want to do something or what it is that you want to buy, or you want to downgrade, you want to upgrade, things like that. So that'll be very interesting. But a little about me. I started a little over 12 years ago, and thank you. I started a little over 12 years ago. It's actually been 12 years and about 8 months ago. I didn't really have an interest in real estate, but my parents bought a new house, and the school was different than where we lived. So I was able to stay at the model home after school, and it was so fascinating to me. I was just in awe. It was so pretty. It was decorated. They always had free drinks. I mean, it was good. So that's when my interest began. And then I tried other things, but it ultimately led me back to it, because there's never a dull day in real estate. There's always something different. No day is the same. I generally don't talk to the same people every day or anything like that. It's always different. A little later on, I'll take questions. So if anyone has any questions, I can do a question and answer. But today I'll be flying solo. As I said, my special guest couldn't make it, but she will be here next week. So I'm really excited about having her. She is a mental health specialist. And she didn't counsel me, but she gave me some really good tips, and I thought she was really crazy at first, but I did implement them, and they worked, and I was so surprised. And she's like, well, I know what I'm doing. You don't think I know what I'm doing? It's not that, but when it's a family member or a friend, sometimes we tend to not take them as serious as we would a stranger. So I think that's kind of what it was. But I would say, if you have an interest, like if you're thinking, okay, I think I want to buy a house, I don't want to rent anymore, or maybe you still live at home, which there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you can live at home, I would do it. But if you feel like, I want to take the plunge, I want to take this step, the very first thing, the most important thing is finance. Some people don't have bank accounts. You have to have that, because you're asking a bank for a loan of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they want to see what you do with your money, how you handle it. Is your account in the positive at the end of the month? Do you pay your bills on time? Things like that. A lot of times I think people don't realize how much money they're borrowing and how serious it is. They're going to ask you for everything. Almost everything except your fingerprint and a blood sample. So it's really intense. And a lot of people, when they go into it, they don't realize how intense it can be. But that's where I come in. I'm your cheerleader. See how I'm smiling? 95% of the time, So if you need a pep talk or you're stressed, if I'm up at 1 a.m., I'll talk to you. And anybody that knows me knows that. If I'm up, I'll answer. We can talk about it. And we'll just, we just hold hands and follow on down the yellow brick road per se. But it's a good thing. I mean, it's different from when you rent. When you rent, you can't paint, you can't change fixtures. If you change the light, you have to change it back. That's if you're even allowed to change it. Same thing with paint. Some places they'll let you paint, but you have to paint it back to white when you leave, which that's not really fun. And then you may have your landlord may want to check in. I had one lady that she wanted to go every week. She was renting her house and she wanted to go check every week. I mean, that's a little excessive, but it's her house, so what can you say? As long as she's giving notice, then she can do it. So, but when you own, you don't have to worry about things like that. The mortgage company is not going to come to your house once a week and check. As long as you send them their payment on time, you don't really have to worry about it. They're not going to bother you. So, those are just some small tips. The fun part is, of course, going to look for the house, or when you're looking through listings. Oh, that's so pretty. But you have to see things in person, because it's just like if you're buying something online. When you look at it online, it may look one way, but when you see it in person, the color may be different. Just like maybe a year ago or so, the picture of the dress was out and they were asking, well, what color is the dress? And some people were saying white and gold. Some people were saying it's blue, things like that. You have to see it in person to really appreciate it. And also because pictures are deceiving. I mean, we've even taken pictures of a house and stood on furniture, or laid down on the floor to take a picture to make a room look bigger, just so it could look good for photos. So it's important to actually go out and visit anything that you're interested in. And that's the fun part. You get to go, you get to tour, get to envision you and your family there, and your furniture or your new furniture. You get to do those types of things. So that's the fun part. But even with that, I always tell people, when you go in, if there's a basement and there's an upper level, go upstairs first and then go downstairs. Because if you go downstairs first, when you come back up, that's like 40 steps. And then if I do that, I have to go in the room and breathe hard and act like I'm checking things out, when really I'm not. I'm just trying to catch my breath. So go upstairs first, then go downstairs, and you'll be good. But does anyone have any questions for me? I'm definitely in need of your help. Okay. Well, you can send me a message in my inbox, or you can call me. My cell phone number is 240-583-9957, and our office number is 301-433-8645. And we have, we do have other agents in our office. So I'm licensed in Maryland. If you're looking in DC, we do have District of Columbia licensed agents. And really collectively, between myself and our broker and the other agents in the office, we have over 50 years of experience. So we are not all newbies. We have experience. We've worked with all different types of transactions: first-time home buyers, first-time home sellers, repeat home sellers, people that are downsizing, potential short sales. So we have experience in a lot of different types of transactions. So if you have questions, or if you're thinking about you want to sell, or you're not sure, or even if you're looking for a rental, we can help you. We just need to know what you're looking for, and then we'll go from there. But the show is going to be an interview style. I'm here by myself today, but it's going to be an interview style. So, as I said, the special guest that's going to come next week is going to talk to us about the psychology of real estate. And then we're going to have a home inspector, because that's one other very important aspect of a house, because you never know what's going on. I mean, even a new construction house, it could be something wrong. I saw one home inspector, and he was doing an inspection on a new construction house, and he was in the master bedroom, and when he used his infrared light, there was moisture near the door of the bathroom. But when you look at the house, everything looked fine. It looked brand new. I mean, it was brand new, so of course it looked pretty and everything, but there was significant water in the wall, and I think it was in the floor too, and it was something with a pipe that was in the floor. So a lot of people, when they buy new construction homes, they don't get their own independent inspection. The builder most times offers an inspection, but I mean, it's always a good idea to get your own inspection, because then you can choose a home inspector, so you can trust that this is a somebody that doesn't have any interest in this being one way or the other, and you can trust that. But it's very important. Some people choose not to get one, but we can never, as realtors, we can never recommend that a person doesn't get one. I mean, it's very important because all types of things come up. I remember when my best friend bought a house and she had a home inspection, and there were 21 points on her home inspection that were wrong. And it was a townhouse. It didn't have a basement. So, it was renovated. It was really pretty. It was like a high-end renovation. It was really fancy. But she would have never known that things were wrong if she didn't get that inspection. So don't be afraid to get an inspection. I mean, sometimes sellers will resist and act as if they don't want to make the repairs. But if they're going to sell the house to someone that is financing it, then they're not going to have a choice but to make the repairs. So, real estate negotiations, it's sometimes it's a battle, but sometimes people are naturally inclined to just say no, instead of thinking about it first. Okay, well, but that's why it's important to have a good realtor, because your realtor is your person that's duking it out behind the scenes and dealing with things that you don't even have any idea are going on. So it's important that when you're looking for an agent, that you make sure you get someone that's experienced in the type of property that you're dealing with. So if you're a first-time home buyer, then it's important to have an agent that has worked with first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers are very special people. That was where the majority of my experience was when I started, because first-time home buyers, they're so sweet. They're so happy and excited, and they're sometimes a little more open to different styles and areas than someone who already has purchased before, and they may be really set on an area. Oftentimes I'll have people that they don't want to go, let's say, outside the Beltway, or they might not want to go inside the Beltway, or they might not want to go to Southern Maryland. So sometimes that's a fight for me to try and convince someone to go out of their comfort zone. But sometimes if you weigh the pros and the cons, if you go further, you actually get more than if you were closer in. So it's like a lot of people, they don't really want that. They don't want the commute. But, I mean, there are commuter buses in Southern Maryland, so there are options. It may take some compromise, but you figure if the average home in Upper Marlboro is $400,000, but the average house in Waldorf is $300,000, that's a big difference. That means you can get way more than average in Waldorf for what you could get in Upper Marlboro for average. I should write that down. That's pretty good. As far as first-time buyer programs, there are so many of them. They are based on many different things. A lot of them are income and need based. So let's say if you are using a conventional loan and you're making a 10% down payment, you may not necessarily qualify for a first-time homebuyer program if it's need-based, because if you have 10% to put down, then more than likely it's viewed that you will have whatever you need for your closing costs and anything else associated. But there are programs that you would have to take a class for. So there's one, the Pathways to Purchase program. It's really popular, but you do have to take a class. It's 8 hours, but it's a grant, so you don't have to pay the money back unless you move out of the house before a certain amount of time. If you stay there, if you go ahead and stay there for a certain amount of time, then it's forgivable. And then there's some based on location. So Suitland has a program by Suitland, but it's only specific census tracts. So once you get with your agent can narrow down what the specific census tracts are. I know one area is off of, I want to say it's Afton Street, Afton and Pennsylvania Avenue. That area right there, just like up on the hill, that's one area. And then right across from the Census Bureau, I think it's Navy Day Lane in that area. That's one area. College Park also has a program. I believe you have to work there you either have to work there already or you have to already live there, already be a resident to qualify for that. And then let's see who else has one. Different counties have one too. So Charles County has one. I think they may only have one program, but that's a grant program that gives you a certain, I think it's a dollar amount that they give you. There still is that 4-to-1 matching program. That was, I want to say it's First Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, I think. And that was 4-to-1 matching, but you had to put in, it's either 1,000 or 1,500 of your own money, and then they'll match you up to 4 times. So that was a really good one, and I don't think you had to take a class for that one. So that one was pretty good. And then depending on who you use for financing, like Navy Federal Credit Union has programs. I think they lend their own money, so they're able to do a little bit more than traditional mortgage companies. So it just depends. There are a lot of factors that go into it. You can get lender credits. Of course, you can get closing help from the seller. But the good thing about those grant programs is that you can use that money towards your down payment. You can't use the closing help from the seller towards your down payment, because the money for your down payment has to be your own funds unless you use a grant program. And as for the Pathways to Purchase program, you have to put in, I think it's 1.75% of your purchase price. But anything that you buy related to your home purchase, such as your home inspection, your appraisal, those things count towards the 1.75%. So the class that you may have to take is a home buyer class. So they do home buyer preparedness, and they talk to you about owning, about making your mortgage payments on time, about home maintenance to keep your house in good condition so that when it's time to sell, or if you want to refinance, that you still, you have the equity. And that's another thing. Everyone may not be interested in buying or selling, but if you already own the house and you're thinking about refinancing so you can take money out, or maybe you want to do a home equity line of credit, I'll have some professionals here to talk about that too, about finance and refinance, because a lot of people, some people actually do keep their house for 30 years. So for those that have owned for a while, you may not necessarily want to sell, but you may want to update or things like that. We'll have professionals on to talk, to tell you about things like that. But it's just going to be different. I'm not going to be talking to you the whole time every week. So I'll be interviewing and asking questions of the other professionals, and I'll probably tell you the highlight of my week and the low light of my week as it relates to real estate. I don't remember what the highlight and low light was last year. Maybe it'll come to me before I'm done. But real estate is fun. I like it. I've tried other things, like other jobs. It just didn't work. I had one job as a, what do they call it? Telephone interviewer, and I would call people that had recently had procedures and treatments at hospitals in Anne Arundel County. But the weird part was that we were only doing surveys from about 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. So most people were receptive, but when it was the weekend, Saturday night, Sunday night, and we're calling people at 8 o'clock, it wasn't warmly received. So, I tried it. It was okay. It got me to where I am now, but I wouldn't trade this for anything. The bad moments definitely, the good moments definitely outweigh the bad moments. That's what I'm trying to say. Hi. So just, don't be afraid. I mean, it's a big step when you're thinking about making purchases, or you're thinking about selling, and things like that. But that's why you entrust a professional. That's the key, really the key to success. I don't want to sound like a cliche, but if you think about it, you go to a professional when you're looking to have certain services done. And for the most part, working with a realtor does not cost you anything, because the sellers pay the realtors. So you just want to make sure that you find someone that you connect with. It's like a relationship that you guys are going to have. So you're going to have to talk to each other. You're going to have to spend time touring homes and communicating. And if you're stressed, or if you're worried, or something comes up, that realtor is going to be your go-to person to explain things and work things out for you. So it's important to pick someone that you have something in common with or you feel comfortable with, because you're going to be spending a lot of time together, whether it's email, text, in person, all of the above. You're going to spend a lot of time together. Because you're going to have questions that you're not even going to think about it until 10 o'clock at night, like, oh, wait, what about this? What about that? Or you may, if you have automatic listings set up and you get a listing at midnight, you may have questions. So it's important that you're working with someone that's going to be responsive, number one. I mean, everyone's not going to respond at midnight like I do, but I'm trying to get better at that because I need to go to bed. But you just want to make sure that it's someone that you feel comfortable with, because you don't want it to be like, I don't really want to deal with this person. I don't really want to talk to this person. That's not good. Does anyone have any questions for me? I was trying to think of what was the highlight of my week last week. What was the low light? Well, I lost my phone last week. The week before last, I lost my phone. So it was very interesting trying to communicate and get things done. But, of course, my broker helped me out a lot, Harriet Hawkins. And then there's another agent in our office, Nikki Taylor. She actually stood in for me while I was away and did a fantastic job. So I was really appreciative of that. But it felt really funny not having a phone. I couldn't text. All I could do was rely on email. It felt so funny typing on my laptop. I was missing, I'm so used to autocorrect for certain things. I'm like, what's wrong with this thing? It's not autocorrecting. It was really challenging. I mean, I don't know. I'll try my best not to lose my phone. I hope my original one is found because I hadn't backed it up in 10 days. So, but, let's see. For those people that have been in their house for a while, your house may be about, let's say, 15 to 20 years old, and you don't necessarily want to sell, but you may want to move out. Maybe the house may be too big for you now. The kids may have gone off to school, or you just want to downsize. You can always rent your house. Some people shy away from being a landlord because they feel like it's a lot of responsibility, and it is a lot of responsibility, but if you get a property manager, then it's not that bad, because the responsibility is then on the property manager, and they can do everything from collect the rent to making sure that there's any maintenance that you're responsible for as a landlord, making sure that it's done, or contracting the professionals that needs to get it done. That's what your property manager is for, and it's definitely worth it, especially if the unfortunate circumstance happens that the person doesn't pay on time. So if they don't pay on time, that property manager will make sure they file the necessary documents with that tenant and also with the court. And that's really how apartment complexes are so successful with their turnovers, because they will file the paperwork. They will put the notices up immediately, during a certain time frame that they're supposed to do it. And so that's why they're able to get people out in such a short amount of time versus private landlords who it may take them 6 months or 9 months to get a person out. That won't be like that if you have a property manager, because they will be following guidelines and things like that. Foreclosure. Someone asked me a question about foreclosures. Foreclosures are great. You can get good deals on certain types of houses. Foreclosures are sometimes called bank-owned properties, and or short sales also. Those are not foreclosed properties, but short sales you can get a good deal on. But the thing is, with those types of properties, you have to be patient and you have to be willing to wait, because with foreclosures, depending on when they foreclosed, the title may not be transferred properly. So let's say if Bank A foreclosed on Mary, but Mary's name is still on the title, but Bank A owns the house. So they have to get that title cleared. So they have to, the title company, which I'll talk a little bit about what the title company does too. The title company has to make sure that that title is correct and it is in Bank A's name to transfer to you. So that could take time. Sometimes I've seen that take about 30 to 45 days to get that straight. So I would say if you buy a foreclosure or a bank-owned house or a short sale, to definitely just be prepared for like I would say maybe a month and a half or more, but not all cases because sometimes the title is fine and sometimes the short sale is already approved, which I'll circle back to short sales and them already being approved too. But you definitely can get a good deal on foreclosures. Fannie Mae owned properties, they have a website, homepath.com. They have their properties on there, and the good thing about buying a HomePath property is if you take their course online, they have a home buyer course online, then they will give you 3% closing costs on your offer. So that's really good with them. And all of their properties, some of their properties need work, but some of them are move-in ready. So you'll find some that they just may need carpet or paint, and then you may find others where you actually need a whole kitchen. But normally the price is reflective of that. And they actually do have their own loan too. It's called, I don't remember what the name of the loan is called. I don't want to say HomePath. I don't think it's called HomePath, but it's a 3% down payment loan versus the FHA 3.5% down payment. So you can definitely use that. And then as far as short sales are a great way to get a really, really good deal on a house. At the height of the market, we had houses that were $500,000 up to $1 million that are now half of that, sometimes more. But you have to be willing to wait because essentially we're asking the bank to forgive hundreds of thousands of dollars in some instances in order to make the sale work. And I don't know about you, but if that was my money, I would not be so quickly to give it away. So they take time. Sometimes I have one short sale that has been going on since, I want to say March 5th, and we didn't make our settlement date, so the short sale was declined altogether, which means that we have to start over. So we have to submit a new offer. We have to go through the short sale approval process again, which consists of that bank getting an appraisal to make sure that the house is not marked unjustly low, which actually is marked fine. It's at the market value, so that's good. But we have to start over. So I don't know how many more months it may take. But at the height of the market, that house was almost $100,000 more. So it's definitely worth the wait. You just have to be willing to wait. And sometimes I love HGTV, but HGTV is not indicative of the market in the DC area. So when you see shows like that and you see a person get $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 off a house, that's great. But you have to look at it like this. Would you rather save $30,000 to $50,000 that you're gonna get a loan for, or would you rather the seller give you 2, 3, 4, maybe up to 6%? So if you're not really familiar with that, basically what that means is this: if they knock the price down by $30,000 to $50,000, that's great. But even at $50,000, based on, I forgot what interest rate it is, but in general, for every $50,000, it saves you $250. So let's say they knocked off $50,000. Okay, you save $250 on your mortgage payment. But if they would have given you closing help, 2, 3, 4%, let's say 3% in general, and the house is $300,000, that's $9,000 that you didn't have to come up with, versus the $50,000 that you saved that you were going to borrow. Now, some people, they don't view it that way because they actually plan on keeping their house for 30 years. But if you know you're not going to stay in your house for 30 years, then essentially that $50,000 savings is not what is most important at that time. It's more important to get money from the seller because you can use that for your closing costs. You could even use it to buy down your interest rate. So you can use it for points. So let's say if you get 6%, but you only need 3 of it or 4% of it, you could use that 2% to buy down your interest rate and potentially save a couple $100. Well, someone asked a question about can you get the house for lower if you find something wrong with it. In certain special cases, after you have a home inspection, you'll have your home inspection, you'll be provided with the report. and then we can submit it. I'll submit it to the seller asking them, okay, we want you to fix these items. They can do one of three things. They can say, sure, we'll fix everything. Or they can say, no, we won't fix anything at all, and that's it. Or they can say, we'll fix four things. We'll fix some things, but not everything. Or they can say, we're not going to fix anything, but we'll give you X amount of dollars towards the repairs. And then you as the buyer get to come back and say whether or not you accept that. So in those cases, if they're not willing to fix anything and they say, well, we'll give you X amount of dollars for it, then you could either take that, or you could say, well, if you're going to give me $10,000 to fix it, I would rather have the house for $10,000 less. But again, taking money off the price of the house does not save you that much money, contrary to popular belief, because if you remember, $50,000 equals $250. So what is more important is getting money from the seller towards your closing costs, because you can use that, like I said, to buy down your interest rate, which will make your payment lower. It will affect your payment more than if you got money off the house. So some people will do that. I remember one young lady used the Maryland mortgage program, which already had a 3% interest rate, but she was able to buy down her interest rate because I was able to get her 6% closing help. So her interest rate was only, I think it was 2.25. It was either 2.25. Yeah, it was like 2.25. So her house was $180,000 and her mortgage payment was really, I think it was about $1,100. Now that's definitely a special instance. We are actually in a seller's market, so the likelihood of 6% closing help is not that common right now. But I'm not going to say that it's impossible, because there are a lot of things that come into play when you're talking about the price of a house. So if there's a house that's been on sale forever, I mean, there are houses that have been on sale for years, something like that, you may be able to negotiate the price. But I always feel it's better if you negotiate on money from the seller, to get money from the seller. But if that's not an issue to you, if you want to pay your own closing costs, but it's more important to you to get a better price, then I would suggest looking for houses that are on the market for, I would say, 90 days or more. Because first, that seller, unless the house is paid for, they still have to pay the mortgage. And if it's vacant, then they're paying where they are, maybe, and also paying for that house there. So something like that, you want to look for something that's been on sale for a while. Or if you don't mind going a little further north or south or east or west. So a lot of people, they want to be close to DC. A lot of people work downtown, so they may want to be close to a metro or public transportation. But if that's not a big deal to you, and you don't mind moving to Southern Maryland, or you don't mind going up to maybe Anne Arundel County, Glen Burnie area, or maybe even across the Bay Bridge, if some people live across there and work in DC. So things like that can help you find deals, because nobody, everybody is really not beating down the door to get to those places because they're a little further out. So those things are helpful. But I mean, if you're willing to put the time into it and just have a little patience to wait for the house that you're looking for. I mean, I had one person recently that bought a house, and they initially contacted me I want to say it was last November. And so at first they were looking more so in Largo area, but we couldn't find anything. So we just kept looking, and I was like, if you go a little further south, then you probably will find what you're looking for. But they weren't having it. They weren't having it. I always have to convince people when it comes to going out a little further. But it just depends ultimately what's important to you. So I know there are a lot of factors that come into play when you think about moving. It's the time it's going to take you to get to and from work. You don't necessarily want rush hour traffic going and coming, but maybe one way. It depends on what time you go to work. If you don't have to be to work until 10 a.m., then you probably will not experience rush hour going. You may experience it coming home. And then the style of house. A lot of people go for colonials, but there's so many different styles of houses that you may be surprised that you would like that will actually suit your needs. My favorite style of house, actually, two styles are my favorites. The Cape Cod. I don't know why I love Cape Cod so much. I think I just like the fact that there is a bedroom on the main level. So there's a bedroom and bathroom on the main level. You still get a living room and dining room, most likely eating kitchen. But I think it's the bedrooms on the main level. I don't like stairs. I just don't. I don't like basements either. Some Cape Cods don't have basements. A lot of Cape Cods don't have basements, but some do. But then when you go upstairs in the Cape Cod, you have the vaulted. Oh, it's not a vaulted. It's like a hipped roof, hipped ceiling. So you have like this type of vaulting going on. Now, you can't really put your bed over there because you're used to just sitting up in bed and you can hit your head. But if you don't put your bed over there, maybe put like a dresser or something over there, then okay. And then my other favorite style house is a split foyer. I think I just like the fact that the main level and the basement are open to each other because I don't really like basements. So the main level and the basement being open to each other, I kind of like that. It's not really a door to the basement, so it doesn't feel like it's some dungeon that's locked away. So I like that about it. And you still get good sized living areas with those, but those split foyers are good for people who don't necessarily want a lot of stairs, or maybe you don't necessarily use your basement all the time. So those styles are good. And of course, ramblers are great because everything is on one level. You have one level living. You do some have basements, some don't, but if it has a basement, then it'll be the rec room, maybe the laundry room, maybe a bedroom and a bathroom. It just depends. But there's so many different styles besides your traditional colonial. And even in the colonial, there are different styles. So you have a center hall. You may come in and then you just have that center hallway, and then off to one side is the living room, off to the other side is the dining room. You keep going. You probably get like a powder room, and then opens up to the kitchen. But some, depending on, I know Lennar has a model where when you come in, it's kind of open, and to the left is the living room and a huge vaulted ceiling, and then to the left is the dining room. There's no formal living room. And then to the right, there's nothing. There's a wall, but there's a 2-story foyer, so you can overlook from upstairs into the foyer. And then as you walk through, it opens up to the kitchen, and then they have like a morning room off the kitchen and a family room. So, but from the outside, it looks like a traditional colonial. I kind of like houses that are deceiving, and you don't really know what the style is just from looking at it from the outside. So when you're looking, like if you're looking online and they ask you to check the house type, if you're not 100% set on a style, then don't check a style, because you'd be surprised. Really, I didn't charge my phone, because you'd be surprised at what you would like. I mean, especially renovated houses, because some renovated houses, they'll go in and take walls out, or they may do a half wall in the kitchen so that it'll be open, and it'll be more, it'll be less of a traditional style and more of the contemporary style. There's so many different things that can be done. So just be open, and just at least look at them online. If you're really not feeling it online, then that's fine. We don't want you to waste your time or ours looking at stuff that you're really not interested in. But just be open-minded, because you never know. But definitely, like I said in the beginning, finance is the most important. My nose keeps itching. Finance is the most important part. That is the absolute maker or breaker of your deal. You definitely need to have a bank account, and it needs to have some type of history with it, even if it's only a couple of months of seeing how you deal with your money, having your paychecks come into that account and paying your bills from that account, seeing, how you manage your money, because you're asking the bank to loan you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they definitely want to see how you handle your money, because they're going to entrust you with a whole lot of theirs. And of course, they can always, take methods to foreclose and things like that. But that's, that costs them even more money. So, and they don't want the house. They want you to have the house and pay them. So that's not their goal. They're not in the business of repossessing houses for profit. That's not, they're in the business of loaning money for profit. So, let's see. So right now I would say, okay, so let me finish this point about the finance. So bank account, seeing how you deal with your money, things like that. The other thing is also want to find a mortgage professional that you're comfortable with, because that person is going to be collecting a whole lot of information from you. They're going to be looking at your bank statements. They're going to be looking at your retirement statements. They're going to be looking at your W-2s, your tax returns, things like that. And so you're going to be communicating a lot with that person and the support staff at their company. So it's also important that you pick someone that you're comfortable with, ask for referrals. And if you can't get any referrals, I like to use Yelp. So I'll look at Yelp, or you can do Google reviews and just see what other consumers and professionals have had to say about that person, to give you a guideline as far as who to pick, who you want to work with. But someone asked a question about, for a house that's about 200,000 or under, what are some good areas? It depends on what type of house you're looking for. So if you're looking for a starter home, which may be a townhouse with or without a basement, or a single family starter style home, that may be about, I would say 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, and that's for either or, the townhouse or the starter home. It depends on where you're looking. So if you want to stay inside the Beltway, then I would say Capitol Heights, Oxon Hill, Temple Hills, maybe Suitland. Okay, and then if you come outside the Beltway or closer to outside the Beltway, then if you go to Bowie, it would be more than likely a townhouse that doesn't have a basement, maybe 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1.5. May need a little cosmetic work, so it just depends on what your goal is. If you don't mind doing a little work, if you don't mind replacing carpet or replacing paint, then you can go to areas like Bowie or Upper Marlboro. If you want something that's move-in ready, then I would say you may have to consider going a little further north, like maybe Laurel, PG County, or Anne Arundel, or maybe even Howard County section of Laurel. Let's exclude Howard County section of Laurel for now. If you're looking at 200,000 or under. You definitely could try Charles County, Waldorf, La Plata, Indian Head, Bryan's Road. Accokeek doesn't really have townhouses. They're new, so they don't have a lot of resale townhouses that will fall within that price range. But if you go east or west, if you go west, I can't think of any places right off the top of my head, but that's just considering Maryland. If you have any interest in D.C., then certain parts of Northeast, potentially Deanwood, but D.C. is definitely still on the rise, and so it's kind of difficult to get something that's moving ready or really under. I would say under like 350,000, something that's moving ready. Now, unless you find like a short sale or something like that, then that potentially could work. But there's so many different areas, and sometimes when you're searching, it's best to just use the county, because certain areas, like for example, Upper Marlboro has different names, Largo, Springdale, and so if you type in just Upper Marlboro, then it's not going to give you Springdale, it's not going to give you Largo. So just go by county, or maybe even price range in just the state, so you can see, because sometimes you may see something that you really like, but you would have never considered the area. Maybe you don't know the area, or something like that. So it's just important to kind of have an open mind a little bit, kind of, I want to say look at everything, but just be open-minded when it comes to your price range and your area. I know a lot of people will get approved for a certain amount, but they don't necessarily want to go to that maximum, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're never always going to suggest you go to your maximum. In certain circumstances, we will. If you're looking, let's say if you're pre-approved for $400,000 and you're looking at houses that are $250,000 and you're really not finding what you're looking for, then normally I'll suggest, okay, well, let's go up 50,000. Let's see what's there. If you don't find anything, okay, let's go up another 50,000. Let's kind of look and see, because there's nothing wrong with trying to find something that's lower. But as long as you're open, if you're not finding something, then as long as you're open to increasing, then we can make it work. I mean, we're not magicians, but if you let us do what we do, then we definitely can find you something that you'll like. And especially if it's your first home, you definitely want to be open, because it's not your forever home. So we'll definitely try and find you some of your must-haves for that first home. But if you stay there for, I would say anywhere from, this depends on where you are, especially if you're in DC. If you stay there for 2 years, anywhere from 2 to 5, maybe 10. Most people move before 10 years, especially if it's their first house. But 2, 5, or 10 years, I would say. And then at that point you can upgrade. You can either rent that first property out, or you could sell it and use the proceeds towards your new one, and then you can get more of what you're looking for. You can really hit your must-haves list, because more than likely you'll have some equity to work with, and you just be in a better place as far as knowing exactly where you want to live, what type of house you want to upgrade to. So just your first house isn't forever. It doesn't have to be forever. And I think sometimes people get caught up in that, like, oh, this, I have to have everything in this first house, but you don't. It's okay. It's okay. You really don't. You'll be able to purchase another house after that one. So, but it's real estate. It can be a good thing. It can really put you on a path to greatness. I mean, because like I said, if you buy your first house and then when it's time to upgrade, you decide, okay, I'll be a landlord, and but definitely if you want to be a landlord, get a property manager. And we actually have a property manager in our office, Jameen Doles, who is a property manager. Maybe Jameen can come on the show and talk to us about property management. That would be nice. So she can come on and she could talk to us about that, and it's really, really important. I know a lot of people, they want to be a landlord, but if you don't know those laws and you don't know the things you're supposed to do and the time frames you're supposed to do it, it's only going to hurt you, and it's only going to hurt your profit. And so the number one name of the game, the reason why you became a landlord, is to increase profits. So you just make sure you have everything in place. Make sure you require those tenants to have their renter's insurance, because if they burn your house to the ground, you do not want to be responsible for their stuff. You want them to be responsible for replacing their own stuff. And you'll have your owner's policy so you can replace your structure. I mean, that's worst case scenario, but those are the types of things that you have to take into consideration when you take on being a landlord. So let's see if anyone did I miss any questions? Nope, I don't think so. Oh, and if you are a first-time homebuyer and you're concerned about your credit, I would say don't try and fix it yourself. Don't be leery of credit repair companies and things like that. The best thing to do is go to whoever it is that you're considering to finance through. So a bank, loan officer, go to them, let them pull your credit, and then they can tell you what you need to fix, because everything does not have to be paid off. Contrary to popular belief, everything does not have to be paid off. If you have tax liens and things like that, you don't have to pay those You don't have to pay those off. You have to have a payment plan and be paying it. So it's things like that mortgage professionals can help you. And you don't have to have perfect credit. You don't have to have zero debt. And sometimes people think they have to pay down all their credit cards before they buy. No, you don't have to necessarily pay down all your credit cards, because you do have to have revolving accounts, because just like I said about bank accounts, the bank wants to see how you manage your money. So how do you pay do you run your credit card up every month and only make the minimum payment? Or do you only use 20% of it, but you pay it off at the end of each month? So things like that they want to see. So those revolving accounts are important. I think it's 2 or 3 accounts over $1,000 that you need to have. But I don't remember how long you need to have them for. But I'll have some mortgage professionals on to talk about finance and just kind of getting you ready for it. So I'll definitely do that, because that's not my area. I know a little something about it, but that's not my area of expertise. So someone asked me about Crofton. Crofton is kind of more on the expensive side of Anne Arundel County. So if you're open to Severn or Jessup, certain parts of Odenton, Severn, Jessup, Odenton. Yeah, those areas would be more in that range that you're looking for, in that $200,000 price. I really have to burp. In that $200,000 price range that you're looking for, those areas will be more. And even if you come back over to Bowie, Glendale, what else? Lanham. Those areas for starter homes. Greenbelt is really reasonable now. I don't know what happened in Greenbelt. But it's really, really reasonable now. I mean, they even have condos that are FHA approved, and so a lot of condos are not FHA approved. You have to make a down payment of 20% to buy a condo in most cases, but there are a couple in Greenbelt that are approved, and some of them are traditional condo style, like apartment style, but then some are townhouse style. So that's the other thing. If you're thinking about a condo, it doesn't necessarily have to be an apartment style. It could be a townhouse style. It just depends on where it is. There's some in Upper Marlboro. There's some in Greenbelt. But the ones in Upper Marlboro, you cannot finance with FHA. You will have to use conventional or cash. But the good thing about condos are they're really, really less expensive than traditional houses. So a townhouse style condo in Upper Marlboro near the courthouse may only be $150,000, whereas a regular townhouse in that area may be $250,000. So those are just things to keep in mind. If you think of any other questions, you can send me a message on here, or you can call me or text me. My number is 240-583-9957. And our office number is 301-433-8645. And on Instagram, it's My Realtor Mo, MyRealtormo. And you can message me there if you think of anything. I'll collect questions and make sure I answer them on the next show. But get ready, because Nicole Martinez is the real deal. So I cannot wait for her to talk to us about the psychology behind real estate, or the psychology of real estate in real estate. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. So thank you all for joining me, and it was a pleasure. And I will see you next week. I'll be here smiling. If I'm not smiling, I will be soon. Don't worry. And that's all I have for you today. So peace out.
Listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio. Oh!